Marvin Devine. I'm saying bye to all the lies and all the times you cried, saying that I wasn't right, yet I was right by your side. You manipulator, playing games, your friends commentators, and I don't know what you say about our private conversations, but it's got them hating. Thanks to all the rumors you be claiming. It's cool, I'm done with you, so they can throw you a celebration. You gon' hate it when you see me with somebody living better. I'm trying to tell you that me just doing me gon' have you jealous.
Monday, October 27, 2025. It's Chris Wyatt Reports, Chris live in central Pennsylvania. Thank you for joining me once again. Apologies for the tardiness. Had to deal with something that cropped up rather shortly. So welcome back to the program, folks. We're a couple minutes late, and thank you for the 130, 40 people who are patient enough to wait. Do appreciate that. All right, let's get to it. Today's news, as we approach November, and no pay due for over 1 million federal employees, 1.3 million active duty military, and a lot of people counting on their food stamps, some of whom are entitled to it, others who are scamming the system, and those who are entitled to it, sad news for them. And I wish them the best, but wouldn't hold my breath on what's going to happen. The Democrats are constantly playing the propaganda game, trying to blame the Republicans. Skype number will expire. I thought Skype was gone. Oh, the number expires. Okay. You don't care about the number. Okay. So, do we have the alerts on? Because I didn't see an alert come up there. Alert box is on, but I don't see it. Johan Pish just gave a 7-rand super chat. Thank you for that. Appreciate that. But there was nothing on the screen. I've got the alert box on. Very strange indeed. All right, folks, let's get to the stories. First off, the Schlange Commission is still revealing all sorts of things. Apparently, the guns used to murder Armand Swat, the innocent young man who was brutally shot down by gangsters, hitmen on behalf of corrupt politicians. The guns used there were used in 20 other murders. In July, KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner Nandile Mkhwanazi claimed at a media conference that South Africa's justice had been infiltrated. Well, those allegations have got the commission going. The guns used to murder engineer Armand Swat have been linked to 24 other violent crimes, including at least 20 murders. Gee, many crickets. This was the evidence that led to the Schlange Commission on Monday morning when the national head of the police ballistics section, Brigadier Mishek Gabela, took the stand to testify about how 4 guns connected to his murder in 2024 were found to be connected to 24 other crimes. My goodness, folks. My goodness. This is absolute insanity. Absolute insanity. At least 20 other murders. How many people were killed in this? It's 20 people, I presume. And there's 35 ran from Teresa Mostart. Put corruption to an end. Well, you need to put the ANC to an end at the ballot box if that's what you want. Yep. By the way, did anybody see my dancing GNU video? I put out a dancing GNU video a short while ago. I don't know if anybody saw it. Oh, 1,000 people have seen it. Okay, that's cool. Let me see if that's the actual number now. It's a little bit behind. 2,100 actually. I lost 2 subscribers. Seriously? Seriously, I lost 2 subscribers because I guess they didn't like me commenting on John Steenhuisen in Parkstown right in the middle of dancing. I lost 2 subscribers. Yeah, white men can't dance. Yeah. Yeah. Apparently not everybody saw it. I've lost 2 subscribers. Let me see how many I lost in the Afrikaner video. Well, I've gained 15 in the aggregate, but it's not doing very well. It's doing average. The people running their mouth about me, I gained 1 of that. Okay, so be happy. Thank you for your membership. 4 months. You're very welcome. Don't worry, be happy. All right, let me get back to the news here, folks. This Armand Swat situation. What a tragic murder. I remember covering that when it unfolded. It was horrific. Chaos in Durban as people become vigilantes because a child fell to his death and another was seriously wounded or injured. Chaos in Durban as protests demand justice for a boy who died after falling into a lift shaft. Chaos has erupted in Durban where protests demanding justice for a boy who died when he fell from a line shaft. Why are these people out in the street acting like fools? Hundreds of community members and various organizations, including the MK Party and the March for March, have gathered outside the apartment's head office in Durban to demand justice for the siblings who were involved in the tragic incident at their block Saturday night. They fell down a shaft from 4th floor from elevator doors were allegedly left unlocked during maintenance work. And so the maintenance work? So who did the maintenance work? And you're going after the apartment owners? These people are out of control. Well, the Europeans are happy to support racism. Yeah, the same people who screamed about racism under the apartheid government now endorse racism under the African National Congress's Government of National Unity, which enforces racist laws depriving racial minorities of rights and privileges that all South Africans are supposed to enjoy. But Ursula von der Leyen says we enthusiastically support this racism. Well, I'm paraphrasing. We're happy. We're here to stay. EU investment in South Africa soars as ties with Trump's U.S. shrink. We know that others are withdrawing. We're here to stay, said European Union Ursula von der Leyen. She told President Ramaphosa. The EU ambassador to South Africa, Sandra Kramer, explained that the now almost 12 billion euros Team Europe Global Gateway package includes advancing just energy transition, 8.7 billion. So it's not an investment. It's money laundering. They're giving South Africa 8.7 billion to not burn coal. That's not an investment. That's money laundering. Ensuring a just transition, 1.2 billion. Connectivity, green logistics, and infrastructure, 1.3 billion. And building South Africa's production of vaccines and other pharmaceuticals, 292 million. Why is the European Union giving South Africa more money to produce vaccines when the European Union and the United States already gave South Africa $711 million 4 years ago and no vaccines were produced? Thank you, Altus Cohn, for your membership. TJ Potgieter, 35 Rand, checking in the progress about your research on taking money out of the country. I have it here. It's sitting right here, actually, my notes. Is this it? No, these aren't. This is something else. No, that's a documentary project I'm working on. It's here. Oh, that's where the hell that's at. I just put all that up, and here I find more statements. Damn. Anyway, it is here. Yeah. So these are all just money laundering operations, in my view. I mean, there's money to do something that's already been paid for, and this is money to support South Africa's infrastructure, what South Africa is not doing. No, I did not hear about Canada giving land away. Let me take a look at that. Is this in the indigenous peoples nonsense? The First Nations? Let's see. Says it hasn't happened. No, I haven't heard about this. That sounds like fake news. Well, according to this, the just transition means dedicated social measures such as reskilling workers, creating new jobs, research innovation, climate adaptation projects such as water security. Money laundering. President Trump's pick for Ambassador Brent Bozell to increase the focus on Afrikaners fleeing racial discrimination. Doesn't say racial minorities, but says Afrikaners. I will support the president's call for the South African government to rescind its support for the expropriation of private property without compensation, and will advance the president's invitation to Afrikaners who wish to flee unjust racial discrimination. There you go. Brent Bozell. Please call me, dude, is screwed. The judgment that awarded to him erroneously and overturned by the Constitutional Court means he's going to have to pay the cost for Vodacom. Please call me, Idea Man must pay Vodacom millions. The Constitutional Court's recent cost order against Nkozani Kenneth Makate would result in the Please Call Me Man, Idea Man, having to pay $13 million in legal fees, much of which will go to Vodacom. Vodacom had approached the Constitutional Court after the Supreme Court of Appeal ruled against the operator and amended a previous High Court order in favor of Makata. In dismissing the appeal, the Supreme Court of Appeal ordered that Vodacom must pay between 5 and 7.5% of the revenue that Please Call Me generated over an 18-year period. It also ruled that Vodacom must use Makata's models to calculate the appropriate amount and add interest over the period. They appealed it to the Constitutional Court, arguing the judges concurring with the majority ruling had failed to consider critical evidence. The Constitutional Court found in favor of Vodacom, delivering a scathing judgment against the Supreme Court for presiding over total failure of justice. Yep. So here's the problem. Here's the problem with this, folks. This guy here worked for Vodacom. Vodacom has launched a brand new product, Call Me. Kenneth suggested this service to the product development team, which immediately took up the idea. So he worked for them at the time. In a memo dated 21 November 2000, Mikata wrote to his superior about the idea of calling a buzzing option. He was a trainee accountant at Vodacom. So here's the problem. He's not entitled to a penny. What the hell is that? The work performed for an employer is intellectual property of the employer. The guy who invented the Post-it notes, the little yellow stickies, that is a multi-billion-dollar a year business for 3M, got nothing. The people that developed the microprocessors for Intel, for NVIDIA, get nothing. That is the intellectual property of the company that hired them. They're paid to come up with these ideas. They don't have any say in the ideas. Unlike corrupt people like Dr. Fauci, who take payments and residuals for ideas cooked up while they work for the government and they steal from the American taxpayer, that money should go to the American taxpayer, not to Dr. Fraud. No, you don't get money for working for an employer because you came up with an idea. That's what you're paid for. That's what you're paid for. That's insane. You don't have to have policies in place, Sean Nudd. You don't have to have policies in place. You work for an employer. Your job is to come up with ideas. Your job is to come up with innovations. You don't get money for it. If you want to have ideas and make money off it, then you need to be an independent inventor or an independent consultant, not someone who's paid to come up with this stuff. Unbelievable. Never should have gotten a penny. Well, Francesca Albanese, the raconteur extraordinaire, the propagandist who is now barred from travel to the United States for her behavior. UN Special Rapporteur Francesca Albanese calls for global solidarity against war crimes in Palestine. First problem with this headline, Tamsin Metakamp, there is no such place as Palestine. Doesn't exist. Do you mean in Gaza? Palestinians are facing an existential threat, but also what's happening in Palestine will not stay in Palestine, she claimed, as she spoke in Cape Town yesterday. United Nations Special Rapporteur on the occupied Palestinian territories, Francesca Albanese, spoke to the Groot Kerk in Cape Town, unpacking the humanitarian crisis in Gaza and the need for action against genocide at every level of society. Stop the genocide. Yeah. So, this is racism, which is a disease that needs to be cured. Racism? What planet are you on, moron? The people defending themselves are Israelis. The people attacking them are Palestinians. They're Arabs. They're the same frickin' people with the same frickin' DNA, you moron. Racism? They're not attacking anyone because they're racist. They're attacking people because they murdered people. Speaking of which, sometimes we have to remind people what's actually in play here, because this audience gets it for the most part. But they're, oh, come on now. YouTube's acting like a turd again. Here we go. This is what we're talking about. This is what Francesca Albanese and Brett Herron support. They support the torture and murder of innocents. Yeah. Here's Brett Herron in the Good for Nothing Party. Oops, that's not it. Yucking it up with Francesca Albanese. On the right, you see Shiri, Ariel, and Kafir Bibas, kidnapped and murdered by Hamas terrorists in October of 2023. But here is Brett Herron leaning suspiciously close into Francesca Albanese, who are the faces of evil and support terror states run by Hamas. Consider that for a moment. That is what the Good for Nothing Party defends and supports. Brett Herron. Wow. The United Nations called for reversal of sanctions against her. Nope. Stating that the decision said dangerous precedent could undermine the wider international human rights system. Well, the dangerous precedent is people lying about what's happened, and that's Francesca Albanese. Speaking at Sunday's event, she spotlighted the actions of the Hague Group, a global bloc of bumhurt states committed to coordinating legal and diplomatic measures in defense of international law and solidarity with the people of Palestine. But they're silent on international law and the people of China, the Uyghurs. They're silent on international law and the people of Myanmar, the Rohingya. They're silent on international law and the execution of conscripts by the Ethiopian army in Tigray. They're silent on the crimes of the RSF and the Sudanese forces in Sudan. They're silent on all these things. But this is what they pick. They're silent on the execution of homosexuals by the Iranian regime. They're silent on the murder of homosexuals in Syria by Arab vigilantes. They're silent on the genocide against the Syrian people by a Syrian dictator. They're silent. They're also silent. The United Nations are hypocrites after South Africa ships sanctioned defense material, war material, to a warlord in Libya. And the Secretary General of the African National Congress, Fikele Mbalula, takes a private jet up there, costing millions of rand, to fly to a city ruled by a warlord who is sanctioned by the United Nations, who received 6 helicopters from South Africa that are Alouette military helicopters and were used by that warlord in violation of United Nations sanctions. And the UN is silent. But they're very broad-based and loud hearing about Francesca not being able to come to America. Go back to Italy, Francesca. Nobody wants you here. Unbelievable. Alan Bosak was there. Jeez. She called for support of the boycott, divestment, and sanctions movement. That's a racist regime there. That's a racist regime led by white-haired Tannies in America and the UK who are anti-Semitic Jew haters. Oh, my goodness. Kanana Hunter says that there was a blunder as they tried to serve Albanese with a summons. Jean Spence, yes, Mr. Brazil, South Africaners, but if you listen to his speech, he also said racial minorities. I didn't see that. I haven't seen his speech, and that's why I pointed out that he said that, because they've misled us. They misled us about that. They also misled us about the 1.7 trillion in rand that is in a bank. Now I find out from one of the more reliable news sources that the 1.7 trillion rand that was reportedly being hoarded by corporations includes current deposits. It's not money set in savings or certificates deposit. It's money in checking accounts that rotates every day. I mean, my checking account gets drained every month. I pay all my bills, and then it gets refilled at the end of the month. That's not real money. You can't pick a day when all the deposits are made and say, aha, 1.7 trillion. The media lied to us, and I reported what they said. So they just led us down the rabbit hole. But Kanana Hunter, the Palestinian apologist, is at it again. Yep, here she is again. So let's talk about that. The Albanese blunder, how a rogue Department of Justice official fueled a geopolitical storm. And that's simply a lie. This is propaganda. Activists say a botched attempt to serve papers UN Rapporteur Francesca Albanese during Saturday during her Nelson Mandela lecture was a desperate effort to create a sideshow away from her message on Palestine. Yeah, as she was speaking on Saturday at Santa Convention Center to roaring applause from a crowd of 3,500, a sheriff of the High Court arrived. They were there to deliver a set of papers filed in the United States against her, acting on instructions from officials in the Department of Justice. When the Nelson Mandela Foundation and its chair, Nalini Pandor, were alerted, of course. So Jabba the Hutt now is the chairman of the Nelson Mandela Foundation. It's lost all credibility, if it had any. No, the case has nothing to do with South Africa, but South Africa has an obligation to serve the papers under mutual reciprocal legal agreements between the United States and South Africa. So, Kanana Hunter, that isn't germane. That's what you're putting propaganda out there. Anyway, on Tuesday, a Santon-based lawyer wrote to the Department of Justice saying that Harris Incorporated acted as an administrative liaison on behalf of attorneys in the United States. They invoked the Hague Convention on the service abroad of judicial and extrajudicial documents, which calls for cooperation between countries in civil legal matters, which is exactly what I just said. Yep. Anyway, so they claim that I had the damn... Anyway, so I had information from the group that says it wasn't served illegitimately, but I don't have it now. Somehow it's disappeared. I'm not sure what happened to it. Denel can't meet its requirements, so Arms Corps has to step in. State-owned arms procurement agency Arms Corps has taken the lead in exploiting several substantial export opportunities as arms manufacturer Denel struggles to burnish its reputation in international markets following years of underperformance. Well, isn't that the truth? Arms Corps' annual report for 2025, released last week, conceded that Denel's continued lost capacity and capability has resulted in suboptimal performance against contractual obligations, with Denel managed to invoice only 8.65% of the total value of orders. So Denel got 100% orders, and it can only fill 8.25%, 8.5% of the orders it got. That's insane. Well, the Democratic Alliance is still trying to finalize a replacement for Andrew Whitfield 4 months later to be the second deputy minister in that department. Why? Who cares if there's another deputy minister there? Who cares if there's another deputy minister there? Who cares? The position of second deputy minister for the Department of Trade and Industry and Competition has been vacant since June. Oh, ostensibly central to ongoing U.S.-South Africa trade negotiations. But Andrew Whitfield was removed because he went to America to talk about trade. Victoria O'Regan, are you serious? Are you serious in the Daily Maverick? Is it the daily bullshit? Ostensibly central to the ongoing U.S. trade. He was removed because he went to America and talked about trade. He was removed for that reason. Do you think we forget this? People must take us for idiots. They really must. They're absolutely clueless. Well, Eskom famously just reported first profit in ages. Damn it, there's a tag on this thing. It's driving me nuts. There's a profit. There isn't a profit. It's fiction because they are getting billions of rand paid off by the taxpayer of their debt. But it won't be enough by 2028, and they'll be back in the red even with that sleight of hand. Municipal debt to Eskom, which has escalated to more than 100 billion rand, makes the ratings agency Moody's skeptical the utility will be able to pay off the government books by 2028. Not going to happen. Not going to happen. Well, folks, if you've been wondering why you've had a hard time connecting to my channel, one of the reasons might very well be that one of your main fiber providers is dorked up. Internet service provider AfriHost has detailed the causes of a series of outages on its fiber network over the past 2 months and what fixes it implemented to prevent similar problems in the future. With around 1 million customers, AfriHost is one of South Africa's largest ISPs. It's won My Broadband's ISP of the Year award 7 times. I don't know why. It can't deliver service. Yep. Anyway, it's a highly responsive flagging technical issues. Well, it took over 2 months for them to figure this out. The first major issue on this network lasted 2 days from 18-19 August and affected customers on fiber networks who use dynamic host configuration protocol for IP allocation. The latest feedback, they said an issue with IP allocation resulted in duplicate IP addresses being assigned to multiple clients. Well, there you go. And it goes on and on. Less than a month later, another fiber issue cut off connectivity to customers across all fiber networks for about 6 hours. But this happens repeatedly. They just don't report it. That's the 2 big outages. They don't report the rest of them. So the cash hoarding myth. This is an op-ed piece by Claude de Bessic in Business Day. He says that the 1.8 trillion in idle cash is misleading because much of that is in current accounts. And if that's true, then the media that don't understand it falsely reported that story, and they hoodwinked all of us, including me. They didn't mention whether it was current accounts. I presume they'd done their research and trusted their journalists, but apparently they're not. They're lazy turds. Well, here's a lazy turd story here from David Bunzire. U.S. books dozens of seats for Afrikaner refugees, but only 3 pitch up. That's factually incorrect. The U.S. books seats all the time. They're trying to imply that there's no interest, and he actually lies and says, despite the lackluster interest right here, there was no lackluster interest. 100,000 people are interested in this. People are screaming to get out. They're bitching at me because they're not getting phone calls. I don't have anything to do with it. So Davi Bunzire is just a propagandist and also a dishonest so-called journalist based on what he wrote there. It's a factually incorrect. It's a lie. It's a lie. Black Friday's coming up, folks, and Macros got their first deals. Yeah. All right. They're available through extended Black November, not Black Friday, Black November, which began Friday, October 24th. Discounted TVs, projectors, laptops, network equipment, audio products, and various appliances. Okay. South African shoppers are very strategic when it comes to big ticket items, said Mass Mart marketing executive Langa Kanyile. Are they really? Are they really? Here's a Taurus digital nonstick air fryer for 1,000 rand, 4-liter capacity. Skull Candy Crusher Bluetooth over-the-ear headphones for 1,800 rand. And stuff that won't show up on my screen. I don't know why there's no pictures for any of this. A MacBook for 12,000 rand. Oh yeah, that's just a drop in the bucket, 12,000 rand. Not. Tanzania's president takes no chances with Zanzibar, despite no opposition. President Samia Suluhu Hassan, the misogynist who hates women, campaigns heavily in Zanzibar ahead of elections with billboards and public rallies. Opposition feels sidelined amid accusations of repression, human rights violations, and lack of electoral fairness. Well, there you go. Not at all surprised, but Zanzibar is a Muslim haven, so I'm sure she'll do well there. Concerns for civilians after the Rapid Support Forces claim control of Al-Fashir in Darfur. UN has made an urgent call for protection and safe passage of hundreds of thousands of civilians in Sudan's al-Fashir as fighters from the RSF paramilitary group claim to seize control of the besieged city. The Sudanese Forces 6th Division was chased out of there. Cameroon's President Paul Biya, the nontogenarian 92-year-old fossil, been in power since Christ was a corporal in Galilee, has been reelected for an 8th term. Surprise, surprise, surprise. Who could have guessed this? Rival candidate, he got 53.7% of the vote, and rival candidate, former government minister, came in second with 35.2%. Isn't that just convenient? Liberia has agreed to take the criminal alien invader, convicted felon, off our hands. Kilmar Abrego will go to Liberia, assuming that federal judges stop interfering in the execution of the president's constitutionally mandated responsibilities. Out of control federal judges. President Trump has reached a trade deal, not with South Africa. Nope, not with Canada. No way. But with Malaysia, Cambodia, Thailand, and Vietnam. U.S. will exempt some products from tariffs in exchange for lower levies that purchase American goods. Good deal. All right. The U.S. entered into trade agreements with Malaysia and Cambodia that will see the Southeast Asians lower tariffs and regulations on U.S. goods such as vehicles and farm products. The administration said two countries would buy more U.S. goods in exchange for certain exemptions from Trump's reciprocal tariffs, which would otherwise remain at 19%. There you go. Cool beans. Thailand and Vietnam. U.S. said it signed framework agreements with Thailand and Vietnam that could provide a foundation for fuller trade deals later on. Look at that, folks. Look at that. The Trumpster. All I do is win, 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 no matter what. Trade deals galore. The Trumpster's making it happen. Protest banners shockingly unfurled, ladies and gentlemen, denouncing the Chinese Communist Party in Beijing's upscale district. An anonymous protester unfurled banners denouncing the CCP as an anti-human cult, echoing a 2022 demonstration by Peng Lifa. A rare act of public dissent was seen on upscale Sanlitun subdistrict in Beijing on the 25th of October, just as the Chinese Communist Party concluded its fourth plenum of its 20th Central Committee. One banner read, "The essence of the Chinese Communist Party is a cult against human nature and against humanity that will bring endless disasters to China. End the party ban, freedom of association, freedom of competition, free choice. Build a new China based on liberty, humanity, and the rule of law." And these are the friends of the African National Congress. These are the friends of American elites that run corporations and South African elites. These are the people that Johnny Steenhuisen, Parkstown, Ron and the Mole were just licking the boots of in China recently, instead of being in America, working on a trade deal. These are the people that they go lick the boots of. Well, to the depths of the ocean, I've talked about this several times on this program in the past about deep sea mining and the wealth of natural resources, cobalt, gold, steel, molybdenum, iron, all the resources at the bottom of our oceans, particularly the depths. It's hard to get to, though. That's the next frontier, not space, but the depths of our oceans. Well, the U.S. and China are fighting over it. Around the Cook Islands, the world's two most powerful countries are exploring the possibility of deep sea mining and critical minerals. Deep below the surface of the Pacific Ocean, the seabed is dotted with clusters of brown and black rocks, each containing valuable metals. There's an example of them right there. The rocks, known as polymetallic nodules, hold reserves of critical minerals that could be used to power clean energy and fuel a new industrial future. In the Cook Islands, a nation halfway between Hawaii and New Zealand, exploration vessels are mapping the mineral-rich seabeds. The U.S. and China are both exploring the resource potential, setting up new strategic battle between the world's two most powerful countries. Demand for critical materials, including cobalt, nickel, and manganese, has surged as nations race for clean power, defense, and AI technologies. With land-based reserves diminishing and much of the market controlled by China, attention is turning to the deep sea. But the Chinese aren't going to let go of their stranglehold on these critical minerals. Deep sea mineral exploitation remains deeply contentious around the world. 38 countries, including many in the Pacific, have called for a moratorium on the practice. Some scientists have warned of large-scale, severe, and irreversible harm to ocean ecosystems if mining goes ahead, with impacts including harmful noise, vibration, sediment plumes, and light pollution. Light pollution. Okay. Yeah, I'm sure that one mining rig out in the middle Pacific Ocean is going to have that impact. And the dirt that stirs up will clearly spread across the entire Pacific Ocean. What a bunch of clowns. Romanians flock to a brand new, what's going on there? To a brand new cathedral that is the world's largest Orthodox church. Thousands of pilgrims turned out on Sunday in Romania's capital for a consecration of religious paintings inside the world's largest Christian Orthodox church, being opened after 15 years of construction. Worshippers and officials arrived in droves at the People's Salvation Cathedral, known as the National Cathedral, which at its highest point stands more than 125 meters high. It can hold 5,000 worshippers. Cathedral's opulent interior is covered with frescoes and mosaics depicting saints and icons. With one of the largest budget deficits in the EU, not everyone in Romania was happy about the cost of the project. Critics bemoan that the massive church is drawing on public funds, which could have been spent on schools or hospitals. Not everybody's happy. Well, the police have made arrests in the Louvre heist. One man was arrested trying to leave the country, the prosecutor said. It came a week after thieves broke into the Louvre and stole precious jewels. Suspects have been arrested in the heist a week after they broke in. Public prosecutor for Paris, Laure Bachau, did not disclose the number of people arrested or identify them. Arrests were made Saturday evening local time, adding that one of the men arrested was preparing to leave the country from Paris Charles de Gaulle Airport. It's not clear whether officials have recovered any of the stolen jewelry, or it's been dismantled. Took only 7 minutes to steal this stuff. Well, the United States detains a so-called British commentator during speaking tour, apparently over anti-Semitic comments. Sami Hamdi is held by ICE. He had his visa revoked ahead of deportation. The Council on Islamic-American Relations, American Islamic Relations, claims Hamdi is held for criticizing the Israeli government, except that's not the reason why he's being held. He is being held for what he said. In December 2023, Hamdi called to celebrate the victory of October 7th and asked his audience, how many of you felt euphoria when they heard that Hamas had killed 1,200 people and took 151 hostages? Well, abducting a prominent British Muslim journalist and political commentator on a speaking tour in the United States because he dared to criticize the government of Israel is a blatant affront to free speech. Well, the Council on American Islamic Relations is a blatant affront to America. And you're liars. He wasn't abducted. He was arrested. And he's being deported because he supports terrorists. Javier Milei, big win in Argentina, folks. Results shore up momentum for self-described anarcho-capitalist economic programs. With more than 99% of the votes counted already, Milei's Freedom Advances Party won almost 41% of the national vote, securing their threshold and allowing him to retain his veto power over bills that come from Parliament. U.S. warships arrive in Trinidad and Tobago amid tensions with Venezuela. The USS Gravely destroyer prepares to dock for exercises in Port-o-Spain, Trinidad and Tobago. U.S. Navy-guided missile destroyer arrived in the capital to take part in a joint military exercise amid heightened tensions between the U.S. and Venezuela. The Arleigh Burke-class destroyer USS Gravely will remain on the Twin Island nation until October 30th, while the U.S. Marine Expeditionary Unit, the MEU, conducts a joint exercise with the Trinidad and Tobago Defense Force. Venezuela is sweating big bullets. Hurricane Melissa is looking scary, folks. It's forecast to bring 40 inches of rain, 9 to 13 feet of storm surge, and destructive winds when it makes landfall in Jamaica late Monday. But according to this satellite imagery and projection, it looks like it's going to skirt below Jamaica and not hit it, so I'm not sure. That's imagery from the 25th to the 27th today, and showing it's a very slow-moving storm. Hurricane Melissa continued strengthening last night into today, reaching Category 5 intensity as it approached Jamaica, where it is set to deliver a devastating blow when it makes landfall late tonight or early tomorrow. As of this morning, the storm had sustained winds of 160 miles per hour. That's 160 and 60, 40. That's 200 kilometers per hour. It was 100 miles south of Jamaica's main island, just moving at 3 miles per hour. That's very slow. Do not venture out of your safe shelters to the National Hurricane Center early Monday. Catastrophic and life-threatening flash flooding and numerous landslides are likely today through Tuesday. Destructive winds, especially in the mountains, will begin by the evening, leading to extensive infrastructure damage, long-lasting power and communications outages, and isolated communities. Wow. That's crazy, folks. And there's the path. Despite the fact we see it going sideways from east to west, it looks like they got it selected to go north. So it'll go over Jamaica, then over Cuba, and will skirt past the Bahamas and go out to the ocean and avoid the U.S. Torrential rain will be coming down in Jamaica. Just a matter of time here, hours, folks. More than 8,000 U.S. flights have been delayed as air traffic controller absences persist. More than 8,000 flights were delayed across the U.S. on Sunday as air traffic controller absences continue to disrupt travel and federal government shutdown. U.S. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy said the FAA experienced air traffic control staffing issues at 22 locations and added additional shortages were expected to lead to more flight cancellations. According to FlightAware, more than 8,000 flights were delayed by 11 p.m. last night. Some 13,000 air traffic controllers and about 50,000 transportation security officers must work even though they're not being paid. So, every single air traffic controller who has failed to show up for work should be terminated for cause. Terminated for cause. They're endangering public safety. I don't care if they don't get paid. I was in the military. I didn't get paid when through shutdowns. Too bad for you. You shouldn't have signed up for something that's an essential service. Fire them just like Reagan did. Ban them from ever working for the federal government again. They're unacceptable. President Trump doesn't plan to meet with the Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney during his Asia trip. So Canada is reeling. Wow. The U.S. is focusing on trade talks with China, Brazil, and South Korea after coming to deal with those other 4 Asian countries, and the Canadians are left out in the cold. Mr. Trump, Prime Minister Mark Carney will be attending major Asian economic summit in South Korea. The president's comments suggest trade talks between the two countries will be in limbo. I don't meet with him. I'm not going to be meeting with him for a long time, Trump said. He's angry about Ontario's decision to run an ad featuring clips of 1987 speech by President Reagan. Yep, that's not good. 2 U.S. Navy aircraft from the same aircraft carrier crashed in the South China Sea, a helicopter and an aircraft. A jet fighter. U.S. military helicopter and jet fighter from the same aircraft carrier crashed in South China Sea within 30 minutes of each other on Sunday. They're under investigation. They're from the Nimitz. A federal judge has struck down the Biden-era ban on transgender discrimination in healthcare. The Department of Health and Human Services exceeded its statutory authority by adopting regulations redefining sex and prohibiting gender identity discrimination, said Judge Louis Griola. He ruled in favor of a coalition of 15 red states that sued over the rule. The complaint centered on redefined provisions under Title IX incorporated into a section of the Affordable Care Act. Significant loss for the transgender community, which has faced a rollback of previous protections, and a win for GOP-led states. Led by Tennessee, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, Indiana, Kansas, Kentucky, Louisiana, Nebraska, Ohio, Oklahoma, South Carolina, South Dakota, Virginia, and West Virginia. Tennessee Attorney General Jonathan Skrmetti said Thursday that the ruling restores constitutional limits on federal overreach. Exactly. So, you cannot force people to accept transgenders. ExxonMobil is suing the state of California over climate regulations. The lawsuit says State Bill 253 compels them to supplement its speech with what the company believes is unnecessary. Energy giant ExxonMobil filed a lawsuit on the 24th of October against California officials, including Lauren Sanchez and Attorney General Robert Bonta, accusing the state's climate disclosure regulations of harming the company. Requires businesses with total annual revenues of more than $1 billion to operate in California to disclose their greenhouse gas emissions, while SB 261 requires businesses with more than $500 million annual revenues operating in the state to develop a report on their climate-related risk. Both bills require ExxonMobil to espouse California's preferred framing for issues of immense public concern. The bills require the companies to serve as a mouthpiece for leftist nonsense, essentially. So good on ExxonMobil for suing them. President Trump refuses to rule out a third term. What is this nonsense? This is nonsense. Trump is joking around and they act like it's a true story. And the Washington Times reports this. I'm shocked. President Trump refused to rule out running for a third term while speaking with reporters on Monday, despite the Constitution limiting presidents to 2 terms. I'd love to do it. I have my best numbers ever. It's very terrible. I have my best numbers. Asked if he was not ruling out a bid for third term, he said, "You'll have to tell me. All I can tell you is we have a great group of people," which they don't, referring to the Democratic Party. Of course, the 22nd Amendment of the Constitution explicitly forbids the president from being elected no more than twice, courtesy of King Franklin Delano Roosevelt. No kings? Well, talk to the Democrats. They had a king, Franklin Delano Roosevelt. 4 terms, elected from 32 to 44. He said, "I haven't really thought about it." So when asked if he would run as vice president, he said, "Nah, people would take that as being too cute." So Trump is joking around, and they run it like it's an actual news story. It's pathetic. Even the Washington Times screws up. Well, the lone Democrat in the House who says his party is cocked up, Maine's Jared Golden, says his party is being pushed in the wrong direction by far-left groups. Democratic Representative Jared Golden didn't just side with Republicans in the White House in the House's vote to avoid government shutdown. He said they were right in their central criticism of his party's stance. The House passed the GOP's stopgap measure last month, but has been blocked by Democrats in the Senate. What they're doing is wrong, he said. A tattooed Marine Corps veteran, Golden doesn't look or sound like most rank-and-file Democrats. A 43-year-old centrist who represents one of the most competitive districts in the country in recent years has broken with Democrats on politically sticky issues such as GOP-led bill that requires proof of citizenship. His vote to keep the government funded wasn't a big surprise, but his commentary afterward made waves. Well done. The Marine. I don't know why you're in the Democratic Party, buddy. Well, a record number of participants were involved in this year's running of the Marine Corps Marathon. More than 35,000 runners from around the world raced through the streets of Washington, D.C. and Arlington, Virginia on Sunday. Look at that. Marine Corps Marathon turned 50 this year as more than 35,000 runners participated. Participation in this year's race set a record, according to organizers. 2 Virginians took first place in the men and women's race. Kyle King finished with a time of 2 hours and 18 minutes, and Tessa Barrett set a course record with 2 hours and 34 minutes. Repeat winners. King won in 2022, and in 2024, and Barrett finished first last year. It's known as the People's Marathon. Does not award any prize money. So look at all these people running in the Marine Corps Marathon. Congratulations. Oof. There they are at the Watergate steps of the hotel in Washington. My goodness. Well, homelessness, a topic that comes up frequently. How many people are homeless? Well, the rates in America will shock you. Where do you think Pennsylvania ranks among the homelessness in states? I suspect you're probably going to realize California ranks quite high, but they're not the highest. They're not the highest. One of my viewers last night was singing the praises of Oahu and of Hawaii, saying Hawaii is a wonderful place. And I talked about what a ridiculously expensive place Hawaii is to live, and I would not recommend people go live there. Ladies and gentlemen, the states with the highest homelessness rates are Hawaii has 805 homeless people per 100,000. That is nearly 4 times the U.S. rate. D.C., the District of Columbia, 800. New York State, 795 people homeless per 100,000. Oregon, Vermont, California, Massachusetts, Washington. What do those states have in common? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The top 8 homeless states in this country are all run by Democrats. Democrats. Then we have Alaska, Republican, Colorado, Democrat, Nevada, Democrat, Rhode Island, Democrat, New Mexico, Democrat, Illinois, Arizona. Arizona's purple, used to be conservative. But if we go in the top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, the top 16 states for homelessness, they're all but one run by Democrats. All but one run by Democrats. Hawaii, D.C., New York, Oregon, Vermont, California, Massachusetts, Washington, Colorado, Nevada, Rhode Island, New Mexico, Illinois. And at that point, below that, the numbers are just a couple different. So 805 people per 100,000 are homeless. Nearly 1 out of every 100 people in the state of Hawaii are homeless. Yet one of my moderators was singing, and there he is singing, the cause of homelessness has nothing to do with Democrats. Really? They have nothing to do with Democrats. Really, Dogzilla? Are you that naive? Are you that naive? Los Angeles has homelessness because of local ordinances and state laws. Exacerbating. It has homelessness because the place is unaffordable because of taxes driving the cost up. Natalie, thank you. Thank you for your membership platoon level. Of course it has to do with policies. Of course it has to do with that. Driving companies into bankruptcy, overtaxing companies, overregulating companies, driving up rents. See, love it when you give the facts, you present the facts, and the left tries to refute it. Almost every state with massive homelessness is run by Democrats. Run by Democrats. Ah, boy. Well, this one's entertaining. A psychotherapist explains why the No Kings rally was mostly attended by blue-haired white tunnies. Yes. A psychotherapist has explained why so many attendees at last week's No Kings protests were educated white women in their 40s. Jonathan Alpert, a New York City-based mental health counselor, told Fox News that 40-something women were probably the biggest demographic of consumers of mental health services. So they're all crazy. That's what he said. There aren't any demographic data available for the hundreds of towns and cities that are anti-Trump. Data does attest to this for Washington, D.C. American University research to track protest movements told Axios that the typical person attending No Kings rally in D.C. on October 18 was an educated white woman in her 40s who had heard about it through their friends or via Instagram. A lot of these times, these people are unhappy with their own lives. They may have anxiety or anger. They project that on others. That's partly what we're seeing out there playing out in these rallies. Exactly. He's right. Look at this. Look at all the white 40-something and a little bit older white ladies. There's like one dude in the entire photograph. Two dudes. Yes, this is the Alan. This is the View's core audience. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. So the Washington Post, in response to their lies and propaganda, which I told them about, is too cowardly. The Washington Post, who failed to cite my video for the source of the interview, maliciously misleading its viewers to go to Rebecca Davis's article on the 6th of August about refugees in America, using that as the link rather than directing people to my YouTube video, which was the source. The cowardly Washington Post, which lied to the public, and falsely stated what Charles Kleinhaus said, taking it out of context when he was trying to make a point that people can't be the way. And this is what they publish. Letters to the editor. This is all they publish in response. Another leftist hate wanker. Trump's refugee plan is far too narrow. Readers respond. No, one reader responds. Regarding the October 22nd news article, U.S. refugee plan seeks few besides up to 7,000 Afrikaners. Trump administration's plan for admitting mostly white South Africans and some free speech advocates in Europe is stunning in lack of humanitarianism. The fact that some Afrikaners who initially expressed their interest in coming to the U.S. have changed their minds or decided to hold off as their home's possession disperse demonstrates this is not a group fleeing violence or oppression. Charles Kleinhaus' chief complaint that he had to do his own housework because of lack of domestic help in South Dakota said it all. And this is from Dennis Keefe in Vienna, Virginia. Well, Dennis, if you believe the bullshit that the Washington Post published instead of watching my interview with Charles Kleinhaus, then you're a fool. Do you see? This is a propaganda outlet. It's not a newspaper. Okay, I'm confused. So were you all lying to me? Were you lying to me, Chief, that Lily wanted to come on this channel? Because I've never heard from this woman. Somebody here said that she wanted to come on this channel. And, wow. Anyway, whatever. I've never heard from the woman, so somebody's bullshitting. Never heard from her. I have no contact with her. People say all kinds of shit in the chat. It's untrue. Okay, anyway. 419 people currently here, just 300 likes. What's that all about?
That was easy.
Chief, there's no GO 1984 here for you to misrepresent today and get in trouble. Anybody else you want to make claims against? Get in trouble? What happens if South Africa refuses to accept Brent? Well, then he'll probably get hit with 50% tariffs. Brent Bozell has not done anything. He's not said anything about South Africa, positive or negative. So there's no justification for not accepting his credentials. Del Marie, no, people won't push that statement. See the growing alignment between BRICS nations, Middle Eastern powers affecting current U.S. global order. I don't see it affecting it. First off, BRICS doesn't exist. It's a fantasy. It's a leftist fantasy. There is no such thing as BRICS. It's an acronym from a Goldman Sachs economist. It came up with BRIC. And then he said the economies that are going to grow in the 21st century. And so far he's been wrong, except for China. But China did it illicitly. So Russia, India have gone nowhere. Brazil has gone nowhere. Russia's gone backwards. So, yeah. Anyway, BRICS doesn't have a treaty. BRICS doesn't have an organization. BRICS doesn't have a currency. BRICS doesn't have trade policies that give you advantages as a member over non-members. It doesn't have a mutual defense pact. It's just bullshit. It's just a bum-hurt crowd of autocrats, communists, and racists who gather to whine about the developed world. That's what BRICS is. That's all it is. Jim, what's his name, is the economist. I can't think of his last name right now. That was with Goldman Sachs, came up with that. It's nothing. A helicopter went down North Carolina. I hadn't seen that. That must be news. Yeah, Trump does ban better than GNU, that's for sure. Yeah, Shaw Kleinhaus did not complain about not having domestic help. He said that people shouldn't do that, and they lied. Good day, Colonel Chris in the White Army. Please get rid of that irritating gorilla subscriber. Maybe he'll let it by himself. He chased your list. I don't know who you're talking about, Anthony. You got to give me a name. So, listen, guys, if you don't like what someone says and you don't block them of your own accord, then you get mad at me and leave my channel. That's not very adult. You can block anybody here. You simply, you don't see their chat. You can delete it. You don't have to pay attention to it. Heard the other day that the government and U.S. are working on a plan to get the homeless off the streets. They'll get an option to be taken to shelter. Well, I don't know how that works because the federal government doesn't have that authority to my knowledge. I'm not sure that they have the ability to do that. That would have to be done by state governments. My family wants to stay in Texas or South Dakota. Which one is the better? Well, again, Johan Peach, I don't know why people ask me that question. I don't know your family. I can't tell you what's better. Both have their merits. I like South Dakota, but I like the west side of South Dakota over the mountains. The rest of it's boring as all get out. It's agricultural. Texas is too hot, too humid, and too full of people who don't want to speak English. Doesn't interest me. Okay, what else? I tend to agree if simple math over 90% are going nowhere. Yep. Done a lot of mindfulness meditation, even though I am Judeo-Christian, I believe all types of faith. Okay, Ludwig, welcome. With the recent government shutdown, what do you think the primary implications for both domestic policy and international relations? How might it impact? Well, international relations is going just fine. Trump is negotiating deals left and right with Thailand, Cambodia, Malaysia. Just worked out deals today. Boom. New trade agreements and frameworks for trade agreements. Still moving on it. He negotiated peace in Gaza despite a government shutdown. He's moving forward. He's still trying to get the Russians to stop their nonsense in Ukraine to, behave themselves. His foreign policy just keeps going. They can't stop Trump. He's working. He's never worked for any money. He's never made a penny working as president. Every penny he's ever made in the 4 years previously and the 10 months this time has gone back to the U.S. taxpayer. Never made a penny. The guy just keeps working, and his staff keeps working, whether they get paid or not. My ex-boyfriend went to the States, entered the Boston Marathon, collapsed, and died. Wow. That's crazy. That's crazy. Trump and the GOP spent 4 years developing the game plan for this term. Yep, you're exactly right. That's why it's almost like they had a playbook. Day 1, let's drive them nuts by doing this. Day 2, drive them nuts by doing this. Day 3, drive them nuts by doing this. Day 4, and they got to fight all these lawsuits on all these different things that Trump keeps coming up, being distracted by buying Greenland, being distracted by this, being distracted by that. Meanwhile, the real stuff is getting done, and the left is just missing the plot. I love it. Yeah, that's a lot bigger than the comrades. Yep. Chris is only here for the news. Well, I'm only giving the news. China's not very successful with a recently acquired once top copper mine in Rhodesia, in Zimbabwe. It's a Mongula mine. Major blasting. Okay. Hey, thank you, Mad Max, for that. What's that? Eyewitness News. First test case of land expropriation without compensation unfolding at Ekurhuleni. That's not the first case. We've already covered this. This is another case. It's not the first case. So let's take a look at that. Thank you for that. Municipalities expropriated the land and offered nil compensation while the owners demanded pay. Okay, that's old. That's the story we covered previously. They're just covering here for the first time in Eyewitness News. A landmark legal battle over South Africa's first attempt at expropriation on compensation is headed for mediation this week. As the city of Ekurhuleni defends its decision to seize 34 hectares of privately owned land without paying a cent. The court, if the talks fail, the dispute will proceed to Gauteng High Court. Municipality expropriated the land and offered no compensation while the owners demanded $30 million. In 2019, they seized the privately held land in Dryfontein, arguing it intended use for public purposes. Expropriation was carried out under Section 9, Paragraph 3 of the Housing Act, which states the municipality may expropriate any land required for housing development. That's unconstitutional. They have to pay compensation. Former Ekerlini city manager Imogen Mashasi said the municipality offered no compensation is justified because the land had been vacant and unused for 30 years. It's not generating any commercial activity. It was not purchased at market value. The land is needed for property and ownership. Well, that's your decision by appointed politicians who are just full of themselves. I don't have to use land. I can buy it and let it lay fallow as long as I want. Undermining property rights is unacceptable. Yes, Light Rain, Trump baits them every time and they fall for it every single time. Like him running for office for a third time. Jeremy, what's going on in Indonesia, man? What's going on? Okay. I think I've caught up there. Now I'll go back and see what I missed while I was catching up. Okay. Guess who's doing all the chores at home now? Edward Smith, SCOM prof. Yeah, there's no prof for SCOM. You're way behind, man. Colonel, have you heard about the trucking law that stopped non-domicile CDLs? No, the law exists already. There's no law that's been created. These people don't have licenses. California gave license to illiterate, unsafe drivers, and people are dead as a consequence. Yeah, there's a like button there, folks. Did you know that? Right below the video, you can hit that.
That was easy.
Yep, I've got an MRI in an hour and 45 minutes. I don't recall if I've had one before. Suppose I've had a couple of them, but I don't recall ever getting one. Ask your bank whether their card is accepted by U.S. banks. Visa, MasterCard's no problem, but very expensive to use. Was there a question related to that? What statue you have next to your on-air sign? Oh, that's not a statue. It's a Christmas. It's just a bear for Christmas. He's holding a Christmas tree, a little Christmas tree. It's a nutcracker. Of course, that thing would never last. They're just ornamental. You couldn't put a nut in there and crack it. All you can do is stick your finger in there and pinch it. It's just a Christmas decoration I leave up all the time. Stays up all the time. I haven't taken it down in ages, so yep, that's all that is. Yep. That's all it is. Now it doesn't look right. I'm going to move him back. That looks better. Now you can see his arm. Whose classes do you need whiskey to survive? Butter is expensive. Yeah, that's true. Most South Africans already do their own housework. Stand to be corrected, but a while ago I heard that one of the hardest hit sectors. No, you're correct. The domestic work industry was just crushed by COVID. Yep, crushed by COVID. Anyone that commuted really couldn't commute anymore. MRI noisy, just listen for the prompt, hold your breath and release. Okay, Lynn, thanks. Thank you for the follow-up, cosmic up, more serious hop. No, it won't stop refugees from getting a CDL. You can speak English, you can take the test. Oh, thank you, Mad Max, for the 70 right. Times Live, redress, critics. Okay, what's this? Hang on. Let's see what that comes up. That's a bad domain. No, it won't let me go there. I'll go to Times Live and see if I can't find the article, but it's redress critics. Okay. Probably aren't many. What the hell's the damn search box? There's no search box on Times Live. What the hell? This website. Oh my goodness. I can't even. The search button's not working. It's just dead. I can't search. I can't find that. You got to give me a good URL. That's not a good URL. Doesn't work. Let me try to do a Google search. Times Live. Aha, there it is, 3 hours ago. Redress critics White House asking ANC to hand power to DA, says Mabalou. Fikile Mabalou is trying to distract from his illegal trip to Benghazi and the ANC's failure to adhere to United Nations sanctions, which they should be sanctioned for themselves. Yep, they're trying to cover that up. They're distracting from it. So he's talking about all kinds of nonsense, like breaking up the government of national unity over national health insurance, and the DA said nothing about it. Udio Prinsloo, thank you for the 14 Rand super chat. When do you do your MRI? Maze, are you just tuning in? I'm doing my MRI in an hour and 45 minutes. I said that 4 minutes ago. 5 minutes ago I said that. I said I'm going for my MRI in an hour and 45 minutes. Okay, so let me find this now, and we'll read this story. So, ANC Secretary General Fikile Mabalou says was asked by White House officials to give up some of the ANC's redress policies, including black economic empowerment laws. Mabalou slammed what he described as pressure from Americans of President Trump to scrap beef, saying doing so would amount to killing redress and handing power to the DA. They say to us, these Americans of President Trump, we must do away with BE. I said, you are asking us to close shop. You're saying we must kill redress. You're saying we must cede power to DA. They must. I already read this. I saw this story before. It's just stupid. It's stupid. There's no redress here. It's revenge. And there's no economic development. Only the elites being protected. A peace deal between Thailand and Cambodia. Yep. Yep, that's right, Joan. He's not busy as busy bee. Hendo has something from the Truth Report. What's that? Oh, he's just linking to the Truth Report. I thought he had a video. Huh. Used to have my own tab there. Now I'm not there anymore. Interesting. Debbie, thanks for the news. Debbie, where you been? Appreciate it. Thank you. 350 Rand, making it rain. Sanctions, the ANC, no one is more deserving, says Edward Smith. Need to hit the husbandly duties. Thanks for the news. You're welcome, Marcel. It's just me struggling to stay alive tonight. Sorry, Natalie. I'm not sure what's going on your end. Hello, all. I have a bone to pick here. I go on 24 hours, no sleep, stink to finish the station. And when I catch up the last 24 hours content I missed all the fun. Sorry, Sue Murray. Sorry. Truth. Oh, they need 1,600. Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, I'm not going to make it. Rob's not going to pay for my trip because you guys didn't subscribe. That's what it is. That's what he's trying to do. We're not there, folks. We still need 1,600 people in order for Rob to pay for my trip by the end of the month. I forgot about it. I haven't even pushed it for a month. If you haven't become a subscriber to Truth Report, go do it. I forgot all about it. Wow, I forgot about that. I forgot about that. See how big a deal it was to me? People made this whole big stink about me talking about it. Thank you, Lindy. Thank you, everyone who's done it. If you've already done it, that's fine. If you haven't done it, go subscribe. Yeah, it'll be fine with the MRI. I'm not worried about the MRI. I just got to go do it. So, and I had to get my authorization so I don't have to pay for it. That's the important thing because insurance will bill me for it. As it is, I've had to pay my mortgage, then pay my big credit card bill from travel out of my business account. I make sure I have enough money in my account to pay my other bills. Paid my water, paid my electricity, paid my gas. Excuse me. Still have to pay my car insurance and some more credit cards. And I've paid, yeah, that's pretty much all the stuff. Paid my tolls for the road. Yep. $6 million man. I'm not getting that titanium hit yet. As soon as Matthew Schaefer and I are in a better position, we'll send you a super chat, but cannot at the present. No, Leon. Don't send money if you can't. No, that's fine. Do not do that unless you can afford it. And Vilma's already a subscriber. Yeah. My legs have been measured for the same length, yes. My wife just subscribed. Thank you, Charles. And, okay, titanium man. Okay. No, this is not, the MRI is not for the hip. The MRI is for my muscles, my glutes, and the other muscles there. That's what the MRI is for. Well, Debbie, we got a long way to go, 1,600. We were at 96,200 when we started, 97,000. So 1,200 people have come in, but not nearly enough. And I haven't put any emphasis on it. So, yep. Yeah, 2025 version here. Wyatt Army on it. Quits. Engraved Wyatt Army on it. That's funny. That's funny. You guys are killing me. Anyway, yeah, please go subscribe. I forgot all about that. Thank you, Hendo. I forgot. See, I mean, obviously, you know, the people in Down Under and the others who accuse content creators of being focused on making money and you know, attention, obviously that's the case. I haven't even talked about that in a week. I wasted a whole week. I could have asked for a whole week of subscribers. All these people tune in, you know, periodically. I've missed them all now. You're welcome, Hester. It's my pleasure. It's my pleasure. Foot surgeries through my hips out, so I know what hip pain feels like. You're forced to lie on your back with lots of support. About to do payments. Did you read my email I sent to you today? No, I didn't, Slippery Pickle. Why do you have a sad face or a crazy face? When have I had time to do it? I've been busy. So let me see. Google, Gmail. Who sent that to me? Slippery Pickle sent it. Oh, Maze, you need to write to me because people have sent me some messages for you, okay? Yeah. Did you write to me, Maze? Yeah, I've got contact from people. So, Maze, you need to send me an email and put in the description, I am Maze, okay? All right, and then I'll try to, because I've got 3 different messages from people offering to help you with, you know, information. Okay. Yep. Anyway, all right. So there you go, guys. Love to stay and hang around, but right now I'm going to do a pitch before we go anywhere for Charles Van Onselen. Well, I'm hoping this picks up a little bit. So Charles Van Onselen, we're doing a back. Well, we're not doing. Someone else is doing a backup buddy, but we're promoting the backup buddy for Charles. So there's the backup buddy if you want to go contribute. So okay, there you go. Backup buddy, pin message. Also the petition that Ronaldo started. For those who don't agree with the 44 so-called Afrikaners who claim that they speak for all Afrikaners. How did I not get that? That was in here. It didn't show up somehow. It was in my news. Where is that at now? Okay, Charles. Up there, up there. How's that damn petition at? Is this it? That's not it. It's Bossa. Okay. I had that damn petition here somewhere. Now I can't find it. Oh, there it is. Got it. I moved it over here by mistake. Okay. That's why I can't find it. All right, hang on. Let me just put it over here. This petition, which had like 1,000 people or 800 people when I first showed it, now has over 3,000. Let's refresh the page and see if it's updated, since that's not what I want. There we go. All right. So not in our name, 3,104 signatures, 3,704 signatures. If you want to go sign this petition, Ronaldo started this petition, excuse me, you can go do that. And that'd be great. So here's the petition. This is in response to the 44 so-called Afrikaners, who were all elites, privileged, rich, snotty people, who, led by Max Dupree, of course, who are saying that this is not in their name. Well, they don't speak on behalf of you. Snippets from Africa gave 14 Rand Super Chat. Thank you for that. Yep. Bleeding bacterial bone infection. Ugh, good Lord. 40 Afrikaners are probably part of the 43 that Charlie strike. Exactly. Almost 4,000 petitions. Let's get 400,000 on that petition. Then I'll be impressed. I'll be impressed. It's just getting started. So it's a lot more than the 44, that's for sure. But let's keep it going. Thank you, Rolene Lewis. I'm sure it'll be fine. And then afterwards, I can get something to eat because I haven't eaten today. And then I can go hopefully drop off the medical records at the sports medicine place. Yeah, so hopefully everything will go smoothly. Okay. And maybe pick some magazines at the bookstore. Still have bookstores here. Not many, but some. Anyway, didn't sign petition, will not get called to the USA, so these fools can do what they want. Whether you get called to the USA or not, Chris Sailors, that's not the point. The point of the petition, Chris, is that these people claim that nothing's happening to South Africans. They claim that the claims of racial persecution against South Afrikaners is a lie. And therefore, the petition is to refute their lie. So please go sign it, Chris. Whether you come to America or not isn't the issue. It's refuting the lies. I was going to start a petition. I suggested, and then someone said Ronaldo had already done it. I said it on the air yesterday. Yep. So there's no point making competing petitions. So I don't think the government has to pay them anything. These people are just like that. That's just who they are. Yep. Thank you. You do have libraries, Library of Congress. Remember that from the Freemasonry. Well, yeah, we have lots of libraries. A library in little towns and big towns all over the country. Yeah, Flip Bice, yeah. So last night I watched The Bourne Identity, The Bourne Supremacy. I watched the first 3 movies last night. I didn't get through the third one. It was late, so I turned it off. Yeah, James just signed it. Thank you for that. Thank you for signing it. Appreciate that. Carol Ann, what's going on? Thanks for being here. Signed it this morning, says Orc. Okay, what a weak attempt by News 24. Any people farmers? No, they're not. And I've made, in fact, I'll do it now. I'll do it now for you guys. Okay, hang on. Let me do this here. I've made this. I'm making a video when I have time later on. But it's not easy to make scrolling text. So, hang on a second here. How do I do this again? Shoot. Well, that's not what I want. Okay. I can't stop this thing. It sucks. I don't know how to rewind it. So I guess when it gets to the bottom, it'll restart. So let me do that. Okay. So yeah, I'm going to. Okay, here we go. Here, shoot. Co-signers, Annalise Burgess, Rudy Bice, Vani Karstens, Andre Sillers, Fanny Klota, Pete Krukamp, Friedrich de Jager, Louis Duplessis, Pierre DeVos, Louis Duplessis, Dr. Stan Duplessis, Max Duprier, Louis Geiger, Rudolf Gross, Ambassador Gerd Hrobla, Chris Heymans, Gili Hoffmann, Willem Kempen, Dr. Lindy Kortz, Nick Kornhoff, Judge Johann Kriegler, Ruda Landman, J.P. Landman, Barent Lagrange, Andre Leroux, Professor Andre Leroux, Dr. Pepe Murray. Yeah. So there they are. There they are. These are the traitors to the Afrikaans-speaking people. There they are, right there. Every one of them an elite, privileged snot-nose. But News 24 runs us like there. Mays, sorry. There you go. That's who these people are. Anyway, so I'll be using that when I make a video. It wasn't easy to make that. It's not the simplest things. Anyway, where was this thing about mail? I got to get to the mail real quick so we lose that. Come on. Where are you hiding at now? Oh, there it is. Okay. Gave me a super chat. Oh, okay, got it. Yeah, I've seen that email. I know Mad Max. I'm waiting for Maze to write to me. I don't have anything from Maze. She's got to write to me. I can't do anything until she sends me something. I have no contact to give her the information. Thron's, yeah, that's old. Yeah, 44 and there's 44. Okay, signed this morning. take care, Tom. Yeah, Matt Damon was epic. Look out your window. You look tired. That was great. I love that. I love that, man. That's great. Pam, look out your window. You look tired. All right, no, get some rest. You look tired. The first time was in Berlin. He goes, there was a girl in Paris. She worked Treadstone. Send her. I won't know where to find her. That's easy. She's standing next to you. Then when at the end he's like, get some rest, Pam. You look tired. And she looks out the window. And then the music starts. That's great music, man. I love the music. Oh, that's great stuff. Yeah, they all sleep with open doors, I'm sure. Thank you, Mace. Okay. Yeah, they regret. It's a shame to do more. I just heard from someone else, and it wasn't Maze. Okay. Teresa's still there. No, my alert box is not off. It's just not working. Let me turn it off and turn it back on. Okay, I've turned it off and turned it back on. It's just not working. 401 likes. I didn't realize we had 400 likes on the stream. That's pretty cool. Yeah, 400 likes. Cool. Cool. Thank you all so much. And a little bit of super chat revenue and some new members too, and some renewals in the memberships. Thanks a lot for that, folks. The memberships actually became important when the ad revenue dropped. Important from a revenue standpoint. Before it was just negligible. Now it matters. Okay, cool. Thank you for your live. Appreciate it, Colonel. I'm going to go back to my prison up for the evening. Okay. Why do there have to be 40? Who knows? Ask you for the rules. You talking about for moderators? Oh. Okay, Maze. Again, put the I am Maze in the headline because I don't see anything that tells me that, okay? All right? I don't remember people's names along with their YouTube pseudonyms, okay? It's hard to remember, okay? All right, guys. Thanks for being here. Appreciate it. You all take care. We'll see you later. Appreciate it. Cheers.